So when I first bought this, I was gonna use it just to emulate games, and I thought that was gonna be it. But I did that for a year and had a great time with it. But it wasn't up until I started playing Hades on the Yuzu emulator till I started to notice the performance that I wasn't really satisfied with. And it was because of this device where I really started to think more about the CPU and GPU side of things when it comes to running a game. And from there on out, I started to grow my own Steam library, and it was way better than buying a Switch just because of how much more powerful the Steam Deck is. And that's one of the reasons why I love this handheld more than Nintendo's handhelds. For most new AAA games that come out, the battery life only lasts around 2 to 3 hours of playing time. And for a lot of older games or less graphically intensive games, it usually is 4 hours plus. And when I use it, I only use it for around 3 hours or more because I don't really need it to last the entire day. One example where I've been using this is in between my classes. I only need 3 hours most, and a lot of that time was spent playing a lot of Left 4 Dead 2, which brings me into my next topic about how customizable the controls are. Because I've gotten into PC gaming a lot at the start of this year, I fell in love with the FPS genre because of Left 4 Dead 2, and I never really touched on that genre on console at all. You know, I can't bring a mouse and keyboard everywhere I go, so the dual trackpads and the 4 back buttons on the deck really comes in handy. With FPS games, I always have the right trackpad mapped to the mouse, and since I can't use my thumb for the 4 face buttons, the 4 back buttons come in handy. I just love how every single input is just completely customizable for every game that you play. I didn't really start to remap my controls up until I played Half-Life, and the default controls are really similar to how I love to play my FPS games, but just slightly tweaked. In other games, like Left 4 Dead 2, Half-Life 2, and Counter-Strike, I like the gyro function because it allowed me to make small adjustments that I can't really do with a high sensitivity trackpad. Although the screen is small for the device, I can really forgive it for that. It's at a 16:10 aspect ratio at 1280 by 800p resolution. And if you know anything about PC games, the lower the resolution, the more performance you gain. So this makes a lot of newer titles still playable. Even if it isn't 1080p full HD, I've never once looked at the screen and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like shit. The other thing that I was impressed by was the speakers equipped on it. Because I'm used to playing the DS, the GBA, the PSP, the PS Vita, and hearing those speakers, although being older hardware, it's not perfect, especially the PSPs. It sounds crispy, and the GBAs as well. That sounds even crispier. So I've always felt like I needed to play with headphones on just so I can get the best audio quality out of my device. But with the Steam Deck, if I'm not disturbing anyone around me, I don't really need to put headphones on because I just love the speakers. Moving on, when it comes to the touchscreen, I don't use it for gaming, but I like it as an alternative of navigating and controlling through the UI, like in desktop mode, when I'm just scrolling a web browser or tapping through YouTube videos. It makes me feel like I'm an iPad kid, but using it to type, or what used to be the main way to navigate the Steam store, which has gotten better, it is a nice option to have. Since this device is a PC at the end of the day, I do love its Linux desktop mode. The one thing about playing on PC compared to console is being able to mod your games. And with the deck, you're still able to do that and not miss out on this opportunity. One thing I've also done was make Firefox a non-Steam game. So whenever I play games in handheld mode, I can just open up Firefox, play music in the background while I play my game, which is something I do a lot on my own PC. The other thing in handheld mode is the 2 main buttons, the Steam Home button and the Quick Access button. Not only does the Quick Access button offer just a quick menu, but also great for shortcuts. One of the shortcuts that I use a lot is being able to change the brightness while in game without even thinking about it. One thing on the DSi that I loved was being able to hold select down and use the volume buttons to change the brightness in game, whether it to be to save battery life or to turn the brightness down on brighter areas of the game and turn the brightness up in darker areas of the game. And with the Steam Deck, I do the same thing. The other thing that the quick access menu lets you do is to access your plugins. I installed Decky Loader, which allowed me to install any plugins that I want, The other thing I learned quickly about playing on PC is that digital games can take up a lot of storage. I have the 256 gigabyte model, which I thought was more than I needed at the time, but when I started to grow my own Steam library, the micro SD card slot was a great expansion for extra storage. I use the SD card for a lot of older titles or less graphically intensive titles, just so I can have better load times. The next thing that I absolutely love that I don't see on other handhelds is the way that it feels in your hands. Other handhelds are like built flat, like the PSP or the DS, and it isn't really great for people with bigger hands. It's built for kids, so long gaming sessions, it doesn't feel very comfortable. The device is kind of big on its own, but combined with the tiny grips, it makes it a lot more comfortable to hold. It reminds me a lot of the Wii nunchucks. Even though I've said a lot of positive things about this device, I can't ignore all the flaws about it. Not all games can run on it out the box. Some games are playable and others are completely left unplayable, and there are other games where you have to do a bit of configuration just for it to work. Like I said earlier, the battery life is great for older titles or less graphically intensive titles, but for newer games, you're not going to be playing for the entire day, and if you do want to use it later, you always have to bring a charger with you and be close to an outlet. Since the Steam Deck is running SteamOS, which is based off of Arch Linux, a lot of Windows applications won't be able to work. So if you have a bunch of casual users who want to mod their games but are used to using Windows, there's a lot of workarounds that you have to do, but some people just don't want to do that, even if it's a simple fix or they just aren't tech savvy. I have to say, a lot of AAA games that come out are impressive that they become playable on the device, but sometimes they are locked to 30 FPS max and the lowest settings possible. But when your main consumers are PC gamers, a lot of them have high expectations about how their game wants to play, so most of them may be turned off by that idea. Overall, I've had an amazing time with this so far. Whether it be late at night in bed, high school study halls, long road trips, hotels, few-hour waiting periods, couch gaming, and just bringing the official Steam Deck dock wherever I go just to hook it up to a bigger display or a monitor, and the times where I do get to bring my mouse and keyboard with me, it feels like I'm bringing my PC wherever I go. In total, it's been one of the best PC companions ever. And with the recent announcement of the new Valve hardware, one thing that stands out to me the most is the Steam controller, because I've always thought to myself I would love this playing my video games with this control setup than with an Xbox controller or a PlayStation 5 controller. The controls on it are just that good. I can't wait to see the future of PC handhelds, especially coming from Valve.